welcome to What God Can Do Ministries. I'm glad to have my wife with me still, 40 years on.
Yes.
And we're delighted to have with us Apostle Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to talk basically about one of the problems that ministers face is the issue of fellow leaders and people within the church and attitudes. Because my dear friend Archbishop Benson has always used to say, your attitude determines your altitude.
Yes.
And some people fly underground. Their attitude is near the grave.
Yeah.
But Apostle, you've had a lot of experience over the years. Tell us, have you come across the trials and tribulations?
I have, Bishop. My eyes have seen, having been serving in the Church of God from 1965 and up to now, I've seen quite a lot of things. I've seen things happen to men of God I served under, and I've seen things happen to me myself. I just want to say that whatever happened to us as believers, we need to understand that some other people have passed through the same thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And the second thing is that the Bible tells us. It says in the book of James, for instance, chapter 1, verse 2, it says, consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds. Because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. And then it says, perseverance must finish its work. So we cannot hasten the period, because there's a time God has assigned in every trial that the trial must last. And either we like it or not, we cannot shorten the distance, neither can we prolong it. And so, but then perseverance must finish its work so that you may be matured. And then it says, and complete, not lacking anything. It's only by experience now. Then he went further to say, if anyone lacks wisdom, he should ask. I mean, I have gone through several things. I started my ministry here in England in 1985 in Olivet Defo Baptist Church, which is a complete Baptist church. And that's where my trial started. Where God, the first day I preached the gospel on the pulpit, I was shouting, a young black guy from Nigeria, coming from a vibrant crusade of tens of thousands, and coming into a church of 15 people. And I was asked to preach, and when I finished preaching, I was jumping from one part of the pulpit to the other, preaching with all my interest, preaching with all my conviction. And just to come down from the pulpit, an old white lady came to me and said, "Oh, Alfred, that was good. But next time, learn not to shout on us." That was my first commendation. You can imagine. That was my first commendation. I was speechless for some time. And then at the end of it, I said, all right, no problem, I will shout at you. But I sat to listen to her, to repeat that in my brain. And I went to my senior pastor and asked him, what's going on here? And he said to me that the culture here is different.
Yes.
That some people in this culture, if you shout too much, they wouldn't hear you because they are used to whispering. So I said, okay. And he said to me that when you speak also, don't be too fast because your tongue is different from the tongue here. So I said, all right. So when I went back to the pulpit, I picked my words one after the other. That was my first experience. But in that church, God used me so mightily. People were getting healed. People were getting filled with the Holy Ghost, which does not happen in baptism then. So, and after some time, some folks came together who said they don't want me anymore. And the allegation against me was that I've changed Baptist doctrine then. And they said I was getting people to speak in tongues and I was healing the sick. And for that reason, they kicked me out of the church.
Oh dear.
So I had that, and when I was kicked out of the church, I asked the Lord, what would I do? And the Lord sent me to Christ Apostolic Church, where I was born in Nigeria, and gave me a vision about the church and what I should go and tell the church. And I went and I discussed it with the leaders, and they said, oh, come and share it with us in the service. So on Sunday, I went in full of hope and encouragement. And when I shared it, I was on the pulpit for 3 hours on Sunday service, preaching. And the power of God broke loose, and people were healed, people were crying, people were giving their lives to Christ, people were screaming, demons were manifesting and getting out of people. And then the leadership declared crusade. And I did that crusade for 90 days,
Wow.
only to be picked up by some. And I was summoned to the central headquarters of Christ Apostolic Church, where I was accused of catching witches.
Oh, wow.
And so when the board of the bishop sat and said, the accusation against you is that you are catching witches, what right have you to catch witches? And I couldn't believe what I was facing. I couldn't understand it. So whatever the case may be, it escalated a lot of problems, but whatever the case may be also, 1,500 people were baptized within 90 days, which was my solace. God healed so many people, the lame walked, the blind saw, a dead body was raised. But they never spoke about those miracles. They spoke about why was I catching witches? Because some folks who were appointed in leadership were arrested. They had left Christendom and they have gone to join witchcraft. And they come to the church as if they are just believers, but then they were exposed by the power of God, arrested and publicly. So for that threat, that was why I was challenged. And I was cast out from there and I left. Now when I left there, the Lord told me to start Christ Faith Tabernacle.
Yeah.
Now when I started Christ Faith Tabernacle, everything was going on fine. We were enjoying ourselves and people were coming every week. You have new people coming in and stuff like that. I got people saved and discipled them, and after 3 years some of them were sent to the Bible college and all stuff like that, and then we started growing into nations, and so I began to appoint deacons and then elders and then pastors. All these pastors appointed, I raised them from cradle.
Yeah.